Welcome to the PFP podcast. I'm Tim Groves, Programme Development and Partnership Manager for the Chartered Insurance Institute. And in this episode, I'll be talking to Caroline Martin. In this episode of the podcast, we're discussing personal development and touching on neuro-linguistic programming. I'm joined by Caroline Martin, leadership coach and NLP trainer at Enabling Wings. Here is my conversation with Caroline. Hello, Caroline. Thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, Tim. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's been great to see you, and obviously we know each other reasonably well from COI events and local institute things that you've been involved in. So I'm not just chatting to a complete stranger. We've talked lots about professional development and personal development over many conversations over the last 12 months probably. And
we certainly have.
I know you're full of insight, and I've learned a lot from our chats already. So hopefully learn some more today, and so will our listeners.
Thank you, Tim.
So Caroline, if you could start by maybe telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey to where you are now and how you got into professional and personal development.
So in all honesty, Tim, I know we've spoken about this before, but I'll share again for the purpose of this recording. I absolutely fell into personal development. It wasn't something that I chose. I was a technical person within the insurance industry, very technical person within the insurance industry. And in all honesty, soft skills wasn't appealing to me. Yes, I went on presentation skills courses and leadership courses and goal setting courses and things throughout my career. However, there wasn't anything that was really tangible. There wasn't anything that really made a difference. And so it wasn't something that I really focused on. I was always focusing on getting better technically and professionally. About 10 years ago, I actually was looking to leave the insurance industry, not intentionally, just that I wanted to get back on the career ladder. I was part-time at the time. I had 2 small children at home. And in all honesty, leadership positions weren't available at that time, not part-time. We've got this luxury right now of how everything's changed in the post-COVID world, where jobs are a lot more flexible now. I mean, we wouldn't even be able to be having this conversation, would we, if some of the changes that have been made in terms of technology and that kind of thing. But it just wasn't a thing then. And so I started a network marketing company because I wanted to do something else to get my brain back. And I did that part-time alongside my part-time insurance career. But I fell into the geeky world of science and skincare and nutrition, and that was all fabulous. But what I hadn't banked on learning was personal development. I was submerged in this world that was totally alien to me, and I started to follow what they were doing, and they were reading a lot of books, and they were going to a lot of events, and I was very resistant. Very, very resistant. But eventually I gave in because I saw the change that was happening for these people. And they were really achieving huge amounts of success, and not through learning all of the details of the technical stuff. And so it really opened up my eyes to a whole different world, which led me on to becoming a coach. Again, that wasn't something that I chose. I was at a difficult time in my life, and I was spending a weekend on my own without my children. And it was something that came up online as a free course. And so I went along. And in all honesty, back then, when I went along, I wasn't used to going to things on my own at all. The person that you may have seen on social media or at conferences and events, that person that didn't exist. I was really, really shy. I didn't do things on my own. And that's why I feel so passionately about this, actually, is because personal development, which then progressed into neuro linguistic programming and coaching, it absolutely changed my life, and it changed the way I go about things. It changed my perspective. The list is endless.
Very interesting. And I think it's great the fact that you've actually got that insurance experience. Obviously, a lot of your clients, customers, I guess, work in the insurance and financial services profession. And I guess a lot of the time, training is run by training specialists, coaches who haven't necessarily got that experience. So that does give you a bit of an advantage, I think. I also like what you were just saying then as well about, I thought as I was listening to you, thinking about, it sounds like you were going through a bit of a challenging time yourself, but you then able to turn that into an opportunity, which again, I think is part of personal development anyway, isn't it? So, you turned it into something. I guess looking back now, you could probably almost feel like, that as horrible as it was actually a good thing that happened to you, because you then led you to where you are now on this journey you're on. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't life a little bit strange like that? Sometimes those darkest times can be something that actually turns into something magical.
Yeah. That's there's been a few things in my life now, and I genuinely never thought I'd have said it at the time. To think in the future I would look back on this moment and think I'm grateful for it. It's crazy, but yeah, there are certainly times when I'm actually grateful for the times that were very tough. So because they've created they've changed my mindset into personal development, to trying to understand myself better, understand how people work. So it's definitely been a bit of a personal journey for me as well. So it's great talking to you, who is the expert, not me. But so another question then. So what skills exactly is it that you help people with?
In all honesty, Tim, the list is endless. And I'll go back to the beginning, in that I was being treated for depression at the time when I stepped into this world. Yet the same tools that I learned that helped me overcome depression are the same tools that I teach leaders to overcome challenges towards their success. And so it really doesn't matter where you are on the career ladder when it comes to personal development, because it's all about you and the challenges that we all have. Sometimes we feel like we're all going through something different, and perhaps what we're going through is different and strange. But in all honesty, what I find working with many, 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 many people is that typically there are challenges that we have that are kind of universal. Even the most senior leaders have things like imposter syndrome. Even the most senior leaders, are nervous about a conversation that they might have had, whether or not they said the right thing or whether they helped their team in an effective way. But equally, your new starter that's just stepping into the world, that perhaps doesn't know the team, doesn't know the business, perhaps hasn't got confidence. I was great in my early career. I did everything that my bosses told me to do, and with bells on, but I wasn't very good at doing it for myself and believing in myself. And so it's those little things of being able to push yourself out of your comfort zone, being able to step up to the next challenge, quietening those voices that we all have in our heads of beating ourselves up about things that we should or shouldn't have done. They're kind of the tacit things, the things that you can't put your finger on that makes the difference. But when we chunk it up into topics, I guess there's so many. There's goal setting, there's improving your communication skills, there's being able to be more flexible to get the outcomes for goals. There's negotiation skills, there's presentation, how you step up to sort of do presentation skills, sales, customer service. Really, personal development is about how we go about doing what we need to do. So practically anything that we do as a human being can be enhanced and improved by learning, growing, and getting better. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. But it makes me want to ask so many more questions as well because it's so interesting. But I think, and I've heard this a few times in the last couple of years, I've started to understand, because I've suffered imposter syndrome in various roles over the years, and this inferiority complex that, I was raised quite strictly. You respect your elders and people who are in authority. It's not a bad way to be. I think it's good, to have that respect. But at the same time, I know there's been times when it's held me back. And in the last 2 years, specifically since being at CII, I think I've started to learn that actually, as I'm working with more and more senior people, that actually everyone suffers with the same problems. And someone in the exec level team or even a CEO might mask it better or might be able to control it better, but actually they're still suffering with the same anxiety, the same concerns, the same worries as everyone else. And I thought that was a real big eye opener in the last year. And I'm working with fortunate enough to be working with some quite senior people on the community boards, the broking, underwriting, claims boards. And I remember how nervous I used to be on those meetings because these guys are really senior. It's a really senior role. I come from the insurance broking background, and these are the kind of people I used to read about in the Insurance Times. And to actually be sat on a table and actually having to ask them to do stuff, it took me a while to get used to it. But now I consider them friends, and you start to realise that we're all human at the end of it, and we've all got our own weaknesses, we've all got our own strengths, and everything in between, basically.
Absolutely. And Tim, interestingly, my biggest light bulb actually, when I first started studying success, was that realization that we all have so many similarities, and we sit there thinking that we're alone. But actually, when you start cutting into those conversations, it doesn't matter whether you're a CEO, whether you're new into an organisation, whatever your role is, we're all doing things. And I don't know about you, you might have found this too, but I tend to find this whenever I reach another level and I think, oh yeah, I'm getting comfortable in this environment now. I've got it sussed. Like the universe throws you a big fat whopper of a curveball, and then you realise that actually there's another level. And that's what personal development, I believe, enables you to do. It enables you to step up to that next level. It enables you to push yourself out of your comfort zone, just like all the things that you've just been describing, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, doing more things, and actually taking steps forward to make changes, whether they're tiny little steps or whether they're massive leaps towards a promotion or a big sale that you need to make in an organisation. It doesn't matter whether they're tiny things or big things. Essentially, the steps, the things that we can do are the same. And what I particularly found interesting about neuro-linguistic programming is that I understood a lot of the coaching tools, because coaching is kind of about goal setting. It's about where you are now and how and where you want to be, and then is thinking about those strategies of how you get from where you are now to where you want to be. NLP is more about human performance. It's about human excellence, and so it's understanding those little things that make the difference. You know how you can have two people do the same thing and essentially they've got the same job title, but one of them's just got this je ne sais quoi, yet they're both following the same procedure. That's where NLP, when it's studied to a quite a deep level, it's all about modelling. It's all about modelling success. You do something successfully, how can I also replicate that? So in the early stages, it lends itself beautifully to communication skills because it breaks down how we communicate, how we understand the world around us, and how that actually transforms into our behaviour and dictates our results. So when we can unpick why we do what we do, we can then understand ourselves on a better level, and we can set ourselves up for better strategies for success. The difference between coaching and NLP, I believe, is that it's a lot deeper in terms of overcoming those limitations. So sometimes we just know, don't we, that the things that we need to do. If we need to get healthier, we know what to do to get healthier. We know that we need to eat better, don't we? Or we know that we need to move, to exercise, to not do whatever unhealthy things it is that we're doing. But sometimes we just can't stop ourselves from doing that. And NLP helps us to understand, okay, so why is that a thing? Why is that stopping me? What is not necessarily the root cause, but what is that gain that we're getting from doing that unhealthy thing that we can then bring in and do that as a healthy thing?
It's interesting. So, and NLP is just one side of your training that you give as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So all of the trainings that I offer are NLP focused. Now, when I say that they're NLP focused, if you looked at the list of titles and the things that we explore, they're similar to a lot of other personal development trainers. And almost every single soft skill training, sales training, negotiation skills training, they've all got elements of NLP in them. Sometimes people don't know that is what it is because they've learnt it through a different medium. Every single training that I run is about how can we get better at what we do. Whatever topic it is that you have, whatever challenge it is that you have, how can we get better at what you do? How can you get better at what you do? And it's about me telling people what to do, really. You have all of the skills within you to make the changes that you want. You have the capabilities. You might need some tips along the way. You might need a bit of encouragement along the way. But all of the training sessions that I run are based on the challenges that people are experiencing. And then I create a live online session. So not everything's live online because obviously things like this are recorded, but we aim to create live online sessions so that not only are you exploring that topic, you are connecting with other people. So you're not just being given facts and figures about why imposter syndrome is a thing and some tips to overcome it. You're discussing it with other people. You're sharing. You're learning from one another. I personally find that when we can step in and explore an experience, it connects with us on a much deeper level than if we're just sort of learning in a theoretical world. Because in theory and practice is the same thing, but actually when you get out there and do it, it feels very different. If you think about when you learn to drive a car, like you can read the book, you can read about how to drive a car, and you can then you go along to your lessons and you learn how to drive a car. And then when your lessons are finished and you've got that license, I don't know if they're still paper, but I can remember holding my paper license, and then I got in the car on my own, and that was a whole totally different thing. So there's different levels of learning, but once you actually get in and do, it has a much greater impact on your results, I believe.
And I think there's going to be people listening to this who are probably in an organisation where there's lots of resource within their organisation for their sort of personal and professional development, but there's going to be lots as well who aren't. And I've experienced both over the years, and so sometimes you have to find a way. I mean, I've paid for a course a few years ago, a presentation course for myself, and I couldn't really afford it, to be honest, at the time. But I gained a lot from it. It was a great experience, and I guess the fact that I paid for it, I guess it probably felt a bit prouder of it. So, but obviously being a member of the CII, you have access to quite a good number of resources, and obviously some of the things that you're going to be doing for us is to create a series of bite-sized videos. So do you want to talk us through maybe what we're thinking some of those are going to look like and what kind of topics you might be covering?
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say, actually, you've just mentioned something that I'd like to just touch upon, if I may. In that the Chartered Insurance Institute has an absolute wealth of stuff available to us as members. I'm a member too. And in all honesty, you mentioned about some companies having a lot more access to trainings and to things that than others. And actually, I think that's where the Chartered Insurance Institute comes in as a really, really useful resource, because local people can reach out to their local teams, to their local Chartered Insurance Institute, and they can say, these are the things that we're having challenges with. Is anyone else having those challenges? Can you put some training on for that? Like, we can't guarantee that we're going to be able to do that for everything, but we do want to hear from you and to hear what sort of things are important to you. And I think I probably speak for all local institutes when I say that. We genuinely want to know what it is that helps you. The other thing is that, yes, some organisations, you know, the bigger organisations tend to have all of the big topics covered. They tend to have in-house training, in-house leadership training. They have all the diversity and inclusion and all of the consumer duty. They've got all of those things covered. But the smaller organisations, you know, or if you don't have that as part of your bigger organisation, or if you're part of a bigger organisation and that bigger organisation needs some direction or some suggestions on who to hire in-house, like, have a look on the Chartered Insurance Institute website, because there is an absolute wealth of information on both recorded stuff and live stuff that's going on all over the country with local trainers and local institutes, and these things are all put on by volunteers, you know. So and they put an awful lot of effort into it, and they really do. And when I say they, I kind of mean we, because I also belong to a local institute and I am a council member. You know, we really want to do a good job, and both internally in the central CII and us locally with our local institutes, we really want to know what it is that you want. So if you're stuck with anything that's giving you a challenge at the moment, reach out and see if somebody can help. Reach out if I can help. Reach out if Tim can help, or other people in the team, whatever that looks like. In terms of specific bite-sized sessions, well, wouldn't it be lovely to have some input from whoever listens to this today of some things that are actually challenges, or challenges that, you know, it doesn't have to be live challenges of things that people are going through right now, but perhaps it could equally be challenges that have been overcome, where maybe we can add some input in our discussions on the bite-sized sessions that we're going to be hosting moving forwards. But we're going to cover the typical things. We're going to cover setting goals. We're going to talk about confidence. We might have a session on negotiation, presenting, whatever those things are that are for you as well. Though we'd really like to hear about that, and so that we can really add value with these bite-sized videos as we're moving through.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. So all you listeners out there, that's your invitation to contact us, and the details will be alongside the podcast that you're listening to. So, yeah, definitely. We always want to hear from members, but yeah, very excited. We look forward to those. The CII obviously has got a number of resources, things like the professional map, which has been recently developed, which is great for looking at where you are now and where you want to get to, and that helps highlight sort of skills and behaviours that you might need in different levels. And so again, that can maybe help people sort of pin down, okay, where we need to focus on.
Absolutely, there's a wealth of information there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and then obviously we've got the mentor program as well. There's also a Future Me app, which are all available on the website. So we'll provide some links to all of these when we put the podcast up. So thank you so much, Caroline. It's been great talking to you, and really useful. And hopefully the people listening have got something from it and are looking forward now to what's coming with the bite-sized videos. The only thing really left for me is to say again, thank you, Caroline. Amazing speaking to you as always.
Thank you so much, Tim. And thank you everyone for listening.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the PFP podcast. For more podcasts and useful links, visit pfp.thepfs.org/podcasts. And until next time, it's goodbye.